it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Monday, November 11th, the Canadiens' losing streak ends at 6 straight losses because earlier today in Buffalo, the bad news is the Canadiens gave up 5 goals. The good news is the Canadiens scored 7. Look at that, an offensive game that the Montreal Canadiens won, and everyone is so much happier when the Montreal Canadiens win. So the losing streak is now a thing of the past, and the Montreal Canadiens head home from Buffalo with some players actually some players made their way to Toronto because the Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony was this evening, and the honored were Colin Campbell, Natalie Darwitz, Chrissy Wendell, David Poyle, Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick, and former Montreal Canadiens captain Shea Weber. So some of his teammates, or former teammates, pardon me, were there for the induction ceremony, and some former teammates not with the Canadiens, like Jeff Petrie, Ben Sherratt, and Carey Price. I say Carey Price, not with the Montreal Canadiens, but you understand what I'm talking about. We're also there. Congratulations to Shea Weber. There's something that I saw on Sportsnet, which I think is pretty cool, a post that they had. I'll bring it up right away. I played every game like it was my last and gave everything I had. And I think I'm proud that I left it all out there and had nothing left behind. Speaking of someone who leaves it all out there, not on the ice, but behind the microphone, he's as prepared as anyone. He is a pro's pro. Congratulations to Pierre Houde of RDS. Earlier today, honored with the Foster Hewitt Award, basically for his contributions to the game. And every year, there's a voice of a team that's honored. And this year, it was Pierre Houde. Do we have the video, the short video we can show? There you have it. Look at that. God love him. It was a terrific speech as well, where obviously he was very grateful to his family and even his work family, and mentioned his colleague, Mark Denis, talked about him being, one of the best in the game, and he's right about that as well. So congratulations to Pierre Houde. For me, a living legend. He is a terrific voice for the Montreal Canadiens, and you can listen to him and watch him on RDS television. Without further ado, I bring in our regular collaborator on Monday nights from Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca, Eric Engels. How are you?
I'm great. I just listened to your whole intro, and I agree with every word of it.
Oh, good. It's so much, a lot of people think I have more fun talking about the Canadiens when they lose, and the reality is I have a lot more fun talking about the Canadiens when they win. Yeah, you know what? Every now and then somebody's waiting for me to lose my mind, and a clip or two can go viral, but I've always looked at sports as an escape. And some people are already in bad moods to begin with. Some people want you to cheer them. Some people want to be happy. They want to laugh. They want to smile. And everyone smiles when the Montreal Canadiens win a hockey game. So they won a hockey game earlier today. Quite the hockey game it was. I have to tell you, it's probably a hockey game that coaches probably don't like, especially a losing coach in a game like this. But at the end of the day, you want to see goals, right? We saw 12 of them.
Yeah, we did, and we saw the Canadiens score 7, which is welcome relief. And it's not just that they scored 7; it's that their best players were all over that score sheet. Nick Suzuki with 4 points, Cole Caulfield with a couple goals, Kirby Dach with a couple of assists, Slafkovsky not just that he put up 3 assists, but the way he did it. You know, like all the stuff that's kind of been missing from his game translates into this one and helps the Canadiens win. You know, they won't feel amazing about the way they played. They blew 3 leads. They got scored on 24 seconds after they scored their first goal. They allowed 2 goals right away after scoring their second one. You know, third period, they take a lead in there off a couple of great plays between Dach, Slafkovsky, and Suzuki. And boom, they're down 5-4. But, you know, as Marty was saying, I think they had enough of it and they came back and won, and they have to be happy about that. And their top guys should be feeling good about themselves, which is important going into their next game. Because as you know, Tony, the Minnesota Wild have not been a pushover so far this season.
Yeah. Speaking of having enough of it, Marty St. Louis had enough of Cayden Primeau after giving up 5 goals. And that goalie change in the third period happened so fast. If you're watching it from home, all of a sudden, boom, goal goes in. And I didn't even see Cayden Primeau skating to the bench, and I didn't even see Samuel Montembeault skating on the ice. It happened very, very quickly, but he had enough. I think it was Anthony Martineau of TV Sport who tweeted something to the effect of after the game that the Canadiens gave up 1 high-danger scoring chance in the entire game, and yet Cayden Primeau gave up 5 goals. You know, Eric, 1 year ago, Kent Hughes even admitted that they had information that if they were going to put Cayden Primeau on waivers, that he was going to get picked up. And it's one of the reasons why they stayed with 3 goalies until they ended up trading away Jake Allen. You know what? I don't know if he gets picked up if they put him on waivers. Maybe that team who wanted him last year would want him again this year. But he hasn't done much to inspire confidence this year. I get it. It's not the best defensive playing team in front of him. I get it. I didn't think Cayden Primeau was great in camp. I thought Jakub Dobeš was better. And Primeau hasn't convinced me at all thus far this season.
Yeah, he's got ways to go to be able to do it, I guess. You know, he did not play well enough today. If that was in fact the case, because I didn't look at the high danger chances, it was the last one where he got scored on by Peterka, right, that got him pulled.
Yeah.
That's a stop that he has to have. I know people were pointing at Matheson, but honestly, Matheson was playing the right side all night, and Goalie got stuck on the right, and there was some confusion between the two of them. And boom, Peterka ends up by himself, and he's only really got one place to go with that shot, and he beats Cayden Primeau right where you would expect him to beat him, and he's got to make that save. He probably should have had some others in the game, and you know, I think you could take Dahlin's goal out of the equation. That was a rip through.
That was a rocket. That was a rocket off of a lost faceoff in the defensive zone, by the way.
But yeah, and they had a lot of them. Look, they you know, through, I think it was at least halfway through the game, they had only won 31% of the faceoffs.
They won 39% of the faceoffs tonight. As a matter of fact, the only player that was successful in the circle tonight, Eric, was Christian Dvorak. Dvorak had, I wrote it down somewhere. Let me see if I find it. But, okay, I can't find it right now. But Dvorak, I think, had won 56 or 57% of his draws, something like that. I'll try and find it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a look. If we can bring up the event summary, let's see if we can get to it. No, the event summary. No, the event summary. The individual stats.
We'll find it eventually.
The players' individual stats. I think I sent it over. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it's on me. And we'll try and send it over then. Okay, I probably didn't send it over. No, it doesn't look like I sent that over, so that's why I was getting the wrong one. But the event summary, okay, I have it here. So Christian Dvorak tonight won 59% of his draws. He won 10 of 17 draws. Nick Suzuki only won 37% of his draws. He won 7 of 19. Alex Newhook only won 25%. He won 1 of 4. It was 50% for Josh Anderson. He won 1 and he lost 1. 33% for Jake Evans, who won only 6 of 18. And 25% for Lucas Condotta, who only won 1 of 4. So Dvorak was your only good face-off man on the night here.
Yeah, they got their clocks cleaned in the dot, but they won the game.
Yeah.
You know, that matters more in the fact that they, like I said, they put up 7 goals and their top guys were all over that score sheet. That's the one thing they could take forward. I think, you know, they definitely needed better goaltending in this game. Sam Montembeault, who only, I think, made 4 saves out of 4 shots he faced in that third period, he still made some big ones at key moments.
Yeah.
So when talk about all the top guys coming through, he's one of them, you know? So look, that's a recipe that you need moving forward. You look back over the last few games, over this 6-game losing streak, like it was disturbing the way some of their best players were playing. And, you know, good for, I mean, aside from the top guys, that was one hell of a pass that Dvorak made to Anderson for his first goal.
It was a great pass. And Josh Anderson looked like a 40-goal scorer on the play.
Yeah, I thought Anderson played a really good game, to be honest with you. And Brendan Gallagher, like, this guy is still going. So one thing is we see the blender come out for the Lions over the last number of games.
Yeah.
Remember, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Brendan Gallagher is a guy who could play 20 minutes anymore. But you go back through the different coaches that coached the Canadiens throughout Brendan's career, and almost all of them used him as the spark on whichever line they needed to get going.
Yeah.
And I think with the way he's played, I'm a bit surprised he hasn't moved from that bottom six at one point or another. We might see it at some point here. What was interesting about this game and going back to last game, even
pardon me, Eric, you want to know why I think that is? Because I get you, right? That number one line was struggling for some time.
Yeah.
If it was on merit, he'd definitely be there. I think that, and I could be wrong here, that Marty St. Louis probably thought if he put them all together, it was going to be a small line.
Maybe, but Brendan Gallagher doesn't play small, and my problem with the top line specifically over the last number of games prior to this one was just gliding into forechecks and not finishing hits and not doing the things you need to extend offensive zone pressure. And then, you're stuck playing the game in the other areas of the ice where they're making too many mistakes. So I just feel like Gallagher, the way he's playing right now, how confident he is and how much he brings, how much he should be bringing everybody into the fight with the way he plays.
Yeah.
It could be something that serves them. What was an interesting change going back to Toronto is Saturday morning, ironically or unironically, I don't know if anybody was taking my suggestions on this, but it seemed to me, I was in New Jersey for the game against the Devils, and the couple of the mistakes that I saw from Goalie was just sitting there saying, you got to get him on the left somehow. And I asked Marty about it before the game on Saturday, and I said, look, I know you said in an ideal world he'd be playing on the left. The way your lineup is structured, is there any way to do it? Which, I didn't think the answer would be yes. And he said it's pretty tough when you have 5 lefties and 1 righty. We went into the locker room right after that, and as I was leaving the locker room, I turned to Mike Matheson. I said, you ever play the right? And he said, yeah, I haven't done it here. I said, are you able to do it? And he's like, yeah, I'm able to do it. And I was like, but it's not like you would be raising your hand to do it necessarily. He's like, it's a tough way to play. There's some advantages. There's some obvious disadvantages. You look at the game and 3 quarters or so that he played on the right, because it started in Toronto. I'm not sure that's an experiment that can continue for the Canadiens, but we'll see where it all goes. One thing is certain. I think you want to get the best version of Cayden Goalie and at least get him back to playing with the confidence that you expect to see from him. Playing on the left side, to me, is a good solution for that.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, who is a top fleet employer, by the way. Forbes top 400 in terms of employers in transport, though they're always on that list, and they're always the top one. They're a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Playground. Step into the world-renowned poker experience at Playground, where free food and drinks at cash game tables, a Babby jackpot, weekly promotions, daily tournaments, unmatched customer service await you. Why play anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge Playground. By the way, I was there a couple of nights ago on Saturday night, and I had a great night. The band was amazing. The ambiance was amazing. The people there were amazing. So it was just a fantastic night.
That place is awesome. I've been there a bunch of times. It's an awesome place.
Yeah.
What they've done with it. Phil Saba is an old friend, and his group, and it's incredible how much it's grown and how many people pack that place. And I know Agnello and Sammy are big fans of it, and so it's cool that they're a part of this show.
Fantastic stuff. And also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. You see them right behind me, of course. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. All right. I want to go back to Slafkovsky because you were touching on him. Without a doubt, like his best game of the season. There's no doubt about it. You talked about the 3 assists. When we talk about Slafkovsky and what he can be one day in an ideal world, we talk about a modern day power forward. Eric, there weren't too many games this year. There weren't too many shifts this year where Slafkovsky looked like a modern day power forward. earlier this afternoon, Uri Slafkovsky looked like a modern-day power forward. He was like a force to be reckoned with. He played with hunger. He was aggressive on the forecheck. He won battles. And not only that, he showed us incredibly great vision and incredibly soft hands. His whole game today, the whole package, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
If I was Marty St. Louis and Adam Nicholas, I would clip Slafkovsky's second assist, him hunting down Owen Power, him engaging in the battle, beating him to the puck, beating him off the puck, and then passing it to Suzuki. I'd be playing that on replay for Slafkovsky. Move your feet. You got to move your feet. That's what it starts with. That has been an issue. Too many times coming in on the forecheck with the poke and go and trying to knock the puck loose and gliding into it. There was a forecheck, I think it was Saturday night, Mikko Rantanen against the Carolina Hurricanes, and you see him accelerating and plowing a guy into the boards and then, turning around. Sorry for all the sexual euphemisms and the way I'm breaking this stuff down. I'm not meaning to do it.
Jeez,
but,
I wasn't even thinking that, Eric.
Well, I just with this? Anyways, talked about beating Power off the puck and plowing into guys. Anyways, forget all that.
This just got uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry, but I'm just saying, when you are a guy his size with his foot speed, because he's not a slow player, you got to use it. And there's just been too much over Slafkovsky's first 12 games, because he missed a few, where he knows he wasn't doing it. And I'd be playing that second assist on replay for him. I would clip it from 6 different angles, send it to him and say, this is who you need to be. I like the soft hands around the net. I like the stuff that he did, setting up the winning goal for Caulfield. Great quick play. The play.
Who didn't think that Slafkovsky off the boards was going to try and bank it in? Instead, he fools everyone by sliding it across the Caulfield. It's unbelievable.
He's a very good playmaker when he wants to be, but it requires the level of engagement, physical and mental, that he displayed throughout the night, and that's why he ends up with 3 assists. Like, none of those were by accident. You look at the first one, charging through the middle of the ice, opening up space, getting the pass from Dach off his skate, off his stick right away to Suzuki into the back of the net. There's a lot from this game that he needs to take from it in order to move forward to be the player that he needs to be for the Canadiens, because he can be a difference maker.
All right, okay. Kirby Dach. Marty St. Louis took a decision last game in Toronto where he split up the Slafkovsky with Suzuki and the Caulfield, and went with Suzuki, Slafkovsky, and Kirby Dach. Kirby Dach today had a good game.
Kirby Dach had a good game. Yeah, he had a good game. Listen, he's still yet to make it through a game where it all looks good. And you and I have talked about this. I have high expectations for Kirby Dach. And I think it has been a slow build. Some of it understandable. Some of it, he's got to be honest with himself that he's got to push a lot harder. Didn't like what I saw from him on Saturday night at all. Against the Toronto Maple Leafs, just all that stuff I'm talking about, gliding into the forecheck, not imposing his size. This guy's a 6'4" player, and he's heavy, and he can apply himself in that way much more often. And I thought it started a bit in the third period against Toronto. It extended for portions of this game where that line obviously had a very good night. I think that line having a very good afternoon, I should say, has a lot to do with the way Suzuki played, with a lot more pace and a lot more intention. And as soon as his confidence started to build, you saw him hold on to the puck a lot more without forcing plays, as he's tended to do throughout that 4-game mini slump, what you call it. Still he's got, 6 goals, 17 points in 16 games. That stuff is the stuff you like, but now you want to see the consistency. You want to see the Suzuki we're used to seeing, right?
But this was a huge relief today, because let's be honest, right? You talked about that slump. He hadn't picked up any points. A lot of people are starting to say, you know what? I spoke with Eric Belanger earlier today, and he's not the only one. The body language to me with Suzuki, there were times last year where I found that he almost had the same body language all the time, and that he had the same consistency all the time, and he was really hard to beat off the puck all the time. When I say all the time, I'm talking about most of the time. And you just talked about consistency. It's been a lot less consistent this year, and to the point where, I even read on social, some people are like, you know what? They gave the captaincy to the wrong guy and this and that. But we know that when things are going for Suzuki, he's an unbelievable player, and he could be a terrific captain. Unfortunately, when things are not going for him and they're not going for the team, well, so you talked about that consistency. It's so fitting today that even though it wasn't a perfect win, that without a doubt, the best player on the ice was Nick Suzuki. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points in 21 minutes. And he made it look easy today on the ice.
But what he can't afford is to be the worst player on the ice. And there have been a couple games this year where I don't know if he was the worst player on the ice, but he wasn't close to the best. And honestly, he's been a pretty remarkably consistent player since he stepped into the league, which is something that he's only built on year over year. And you could see it reflected in the points totals, right? Like it was 66 the first couple of years, whatever it was, and then up a level. And there have been games this year where I'm watching him and I'm like, this is nowhere near the Nick Suzuki we're used to seeing. Like, there have been too many of them, 4 or 5 games where he's on a level that I haven't seen from him in the NHL. And I think, crises of confidence come for every player at one point or another. And that's a big part of it. But the only way to get out of something like that is to double down on the work. And sometimes you tell yourself you're working really hard, but there's always another level to get to. And I think Nick did that today. I think he got to that other level, and now he's got to keep himself there, because as he goes, the Montreal Canadiens go.
Yeah, and Lane Hutson was going again, by the way, today. Had 2 assists in today's hockey game. Found himself on the first wave of the power play at one point, which a lot of people have been asking for. Hutson was great today. Hutson was great. Now, I think when he found himself on the power play, was it when they were at 5-on-3, right?
They were at 5-on-3, extended shift, but the play that kind of epitomized the performance of Lane Hutson today, just look at how hard he worked on Emil Heineman's goal, keeping the puck down low, keeping the puck alive with Yoel Armia behind the net, and then inevitably flashes back to the point. Great vision to find Heineman right in an area where he could walk in. Loved the patience from Heineman before putting that shot into the net. But that whole shift was just Hutson dominating in the offensive zone, playing very simply, not doing, the razzle-dazzle stuff that we're used to seeing when he does dominate in the offensive zone, but showing some real grit, second, third efforts on pucks to keep it alive before he can get to the point where he sets up that goal. So, the kid he's dynamite, man. Like, his effort is... Everyone can get wrapped up in the things he can do with the puck, and I get it, and me too. But to me, it's the effort, shift after shift, and the desire to make the difference. It's just there all the time. And we talk about Nick Suzuki as captain. This kid, to me, has those qualities that one day down the road he could be the next guy.
What's pretty cool is that the whole league is talking about him now, right? It took a while, like everyone. You take a look at every member of the media that's out there, and because he's got so many stats supporting what he can do offensively, right? Brian Wilde was on a couple of days ago, and he mentioned that, the analytics in terms of defensive hockey, he gets caved in pretty good at times. But the offensive hockey, from the puck on his stick, from his offensive zone entries, from puck possession in the offensive zone to you name it, his offensive numbers and his offensive play is extremely dynamic. And I think it was Mike Matheson the other day was actually, he was saying that he studied Lane Hutson a little bit, and, the shoulder fakes and stuff like that. And he started to try and implement it in his game. I mean, talk about a huge compliment, right?
Yeah, I remember talking to Mike Matheson before at the golf tournament and saying, how much are you going to be watching this kid to see what you can pick up from him? And he said, I absolutely am. There's things that I saw in his game last year that really intrigued me, and I'm going to learn from him on a daily basis here. I want on the defensive side, whatever the analytics say about Lane defensively, he does a handful of things every game from a defensive perspective that really catch my eye.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he wins battles over guys that are twice his size. He's got great positioning, great stick on puck techniques, great angling techniques. I think his overall numbers in that department are reflective of the way the Canadiens play in general. We'll see if they rise, as we'll see if the teams rise, because it's great they scored 7 goals today. It's great their best players were their best players pretty much across the board. It's not so great that they allowed 5 goals, and that's something that they can't continue to do if they want to get on a little streak here and erase some of the bad that we've seen.
Yeah, and I think his defense partner, David Savard, had a pretty big game today. For a game where 5 goals were scored, I think Savard was pretty solid. I mean, there's not too many mistakes I saw David Savard make today.
I don't disagree with you, but I didn't see. There's a few games this year, I think of St. Louis and Philadelphia specifically, those back-to-backs, where I really saw Savard
laborious. It was laborious.
What's that?
It was laborious.
No, those 2 games were his best ones. I saw him moving in those 2 games a lot better than he did today against Buffalo, but there was some efficiency in his game. They didn't get caught in bad spots. One guy we're not talking about at all, and probably because of the limited minutes and the sheltered role, Jacky. You know, he's playing with confidence. He's playing well. He doesn't appear to be in his head at all. And I think he's been way better defensively. And I don't know how much you see it on TV. But live in person, being at the couple games leading up to this one today in Buffalo, he's really doing a good job away from the puck, fronting players, getting in their kitchen, pushing them out of the way, boxing them out, tying up sticks, all the little details that you need in order to succeed. And if you think back to when he was struggling the most, is the processing speed, getting stuck looking at the puck, missing assignments behind him. I'm not seeing that right now. And
there's a caveat to that, though, and that is, and you're right, I agree with everything you just said, that he is playing better and he's playing a more simple game and a more mistake-free game. But there was a game earlier this season, I think it was versus St. Louis, I could be wrong, where Jacky had 20 minutes. Now, I get it. If Jacky is going to be a third-pairing defenseman, he's not going to get 20 minutes. I understand that. But earlier today, only 10 minutes and 24 seconds, which was a huge drop-off of Jaden Struble, for example, who had almost 5 minutes more.
Yeah, you didn't kill penalties, right? I think they had Struble on the penalty kill.
Struble was on the penalty kill for 2:34.
And Jacky?
Jacky was on the penalty kill for 4 seconds.
Yeah. So that there's a difference right there. Look, what they're trying to do with Jacky is build him into a player that can play 18 minutes a game and really give you something that's as stable as what you saw today against Buffalo. And it's a work in progress for a player who's still a young player who's right around 105, 108 games. I'm not looking at it right now. So give it time. It's going to come. I think, do you have his game total in front of you?
I do.
That's the way they see him.
Why don't we bring it up? Let's bring it up so we can both look at it together. I think we have it now.
He can be a player that can play 18 minutes a game and really give you something solid at both ends. And I think,
So it's a little blurry, but here you have it. We brought it up.
Right.
Okay, which stat are you looking for? Who would you like to see?
I was just wondering how many games he's played in his NHL career, which is obviously not.
Oh, sorry, pardon me. Okay.
But I said it was somewhere around 105 or 108.
Yeah, I could get you that right away.
The idea is that when he gets to 300, he is regularly playing 18 minutes a game and doing
108.
Exactly what you saw from him. What's that?
Yeah, 108.
Yeah, so doing exactly what you saw from him, both ends of the ice, being stable, being reliable. He's been that for the last number of times he's been in the lineup, so good for him.
Yeah. So once again, we talked about it earlier, but Jeff Petrie has made his way to the Hockey Hall of Fame to go support Shea Weber, of course, who was inducted. Carey Price did the same, along with the missus. Jeff Petrie's wife, Julie, was there as well. Cole Caulfield, Jake Evans, Nick Suzuki from the Montreal Canadiens, Yoel Armia. So many Montreal Canadiens there to,
all the guys who played with him.
Yeah. Also Paul Byron, by the way, there to support Shea Weber. Love to have your thoughts. I mean, Hockey Hall of Fame, if you win a Stanley Cup, it really increases your chances of getting in. Shea Weber never won one. He got close with the Montreal Canadiens, of course. But your thoughts on Shea Weber being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame?
So deserving. When I think of Shea Weber, I think of the word complete. probably the most complete defenseman, one of, if not the most complete of his generation. Definitely the most respected. A guy that just, you brought up that quote at the beginning of the show. It was from a question that I asked him on Friday as he got his ring. I said, what are you most proud of? And that's what he said is that I left it out there every single game. And who would deny that? Like, I think back, the second word is compete. And I think back to the run with the Canadiens in 2021 after he detailed what he played through. Torn meniscus, he needs a knee replacement. That'll be when he stops being in pain because he's still got some. It's hard for him to go downstairs right now. The ankle, which is, halfway gone, and he said he gets on the ice with his kids and he can't turn in one direction. He tore his groin in the Vegas series. He came into the playoffs that year with the busted tendons in his thumb, which is why he had one goal in that run. He could barely grip his stick, let alone shoot the puck. Now, saying all that, when I talk about compete, if you go back and watch those playoffs, he was unbelievable. I mean, he was just unbelievable game after game, playing against the best players in the world, averaging over 25 minutes a game. And he was just an absolute, I don't want to curse, but like he was an effing nightmare to play against. Like he was just, if you asked Austin Matthews and William Nylander and Mark Scheifele and go down the list of the great Vegas Golden Knights on that team, what it was like facing off against that guy on a nightly basis, it's a nightmare. And I think, when Shea came to Montreal, he was traded for PK. I had somebody in Nashville reach out and say, well, it's a tough trade for you from a media perspective. You lose PK, who's such a great talker, and you get Shea, who doesn't like. And that proved to be so untrue. My interactions with him throughout his time in Montreal, he was great with me. He was fantastic. I'll never forget it. Just some of the conversations we had. One of them, I don't want to keep droning on, but I'll tell you one little anecdote here. I remember I was preparing a piece for Sportsnet about the first game that they were slated to play against each other post-trade. Like a year later, because there was injury. Subban was injured at one point. Shea was injured at one point. And, I asked him, you think about the way everybody talked about this trade, the way everybody talks about the Morgan Rileys of the world, the PK Subban, Roman Josi, the puck-moving, eye-popping defensemen who have proliferated that we seem to value so much more than the old-school types. And, do you get caught up in that at all? And he said, I was so happy when Drew Doughty won the Norris Trophy in 2016. He said, he was talking, the race I remember was very tight with Erik Karlsson. Everybody thought Karlsson should be a guy who won it. He said, I was so happy that Drew won because when you look at the way he plays, he shuts down everybody. He can add offense. He'll block any shot. He'll make any pass coming out of his zone. He could skate out of his zone. He does everything every night. Yeah. That was, what that person said to me about the trade in Nashville and getting a Shea Weber who doesn't like to talk. Shea Weber didn't like to talk about himself. But when he said those comments to me about Drew Doughty, that was the closest I think we got to Shea talking about himself. And that's who he was. He did everything on the ice every night.
Look, I would say that without a doubt. I think we could say that for a good 10 years. And he was in the league longer than that, but I'm talking about his best years. For a good 10 years, I think if you would poll NHL players and you would say, give me the 3 or 4 defensemen the hardest to go up against in the National Hockey League, Weber would probably be on everyone's list. For a good 10 years.
And you talk about not winning a Stanley Cup, obviously not an individual award. And, you look at what he did in 2021 to try and get the Canadiens there. Yeah. He gave it all. But the one for me that's hard to digest is the Norris, right? Like he comes up runner-up twice. Once when Nick Lidstrom is 40 years old, he was a 3-time finalist for the award. And so long as Lidstrom was playing at the level that we saw from Lidstrom so that he became, the second best defenseman of all time, he was hard to beat. But, seeing him lose to Karlsson, I know Karlsson had 29 more points than he did, but he's a turnover machine. Yeah, when Shea talks about doing everything every night, That's who Shea was. And I just think it's kind of criminal that he never won that award.
Yeah.
I did a piece leading up to his 1,000th game in the NHL, which obviously should have happened a bit sooner than it did, if not for some of the injuries he suffered through. And I remember I talked to all of his D partners. I talked to Ryan Suter. I talked to Marc-Edouard Vlasic, who played with him in the Olympics. I talked to Ben Sherrod, everybody you could think of, Yossi, and just I'll post the link to it at some point here, and it's actually copied in what I wrote on Friday, just kind of rehashing Weber's career and what made him a Hall of Famer. The things that these guys said about him, you know, you could just tell what the respect level was. It was enormous, and he really deserves this. And what a good guy, good family, and especially that he had to do it having lost his mom at a very young age. His dad, who sacrificed so much. I can't imagine how much it means to him to have this moment, and I can't wait to see him celebrated at the Bell Center on Saturday, because that's really going to be something special. His first time back there for real and getting that honor. He deserved to be able to play in front of the fans in that 2021 run. They all did. You know, that was something missing from this whole equation, despite 2,500 people making it into the building at one point, or 10,000, whatever it ended up being.
Yeah.
That night, Saturdays, that's going to be one for the books. We're going to remember that.
When I talked about some of his Montreal Canadiens former teammates being present, of course, there's a couple of more names that I haven't brought up. Josh Anderson was there. Brendan Gallagher was there. The Canadiens management team was there. Head coach Marty St. Louis was there. So obviously, you know, a lot of respect for Shea Weber, to say the least. All right, okay. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. If I can, Eric, just a quick shout out to Betway. They're a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old and over. Play responsibly. And also a mention for Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you at Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs. Home, automobile, or business. Visit their website, www.accentassurance.com, or jot down this number and call them tomorrow, 514-363-3636. You were saying, Eric?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, because I think we should touch on the other two NHLers that are going in there.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for you when you think of Pavel Datsyuk?
Magician. For me, he was a magician. I've never seen a player make really difficult plays look so easy. Jeremy Roenick, dynamic,
clutch,
passion and energy. He had that it factor as a player, right? Like a guy who can hit, a guy who can shoot, a guy who can score, a guy who can make plays. He had it all. But I mean, this year's candidates going in, I mean, you know,
so
pretty deserving.
I'm going to go in reverse order there and start with Roenick. Like, talk about grit, like what that guy played through. I remember seeing him get his jaw broken, just keep going. He was a clutch scorer. He was the second highest scoring American of all time, I think, when he stopped playing, and remains that way, or he was the highest scoring American until he was overtaken. He was phenomenal, electric, exciting, passionate, very deserving of the honor, and amazing that two of the three players, him and Weber, never won the cup. If there was one guy I could think of, if you want to put together a list of players who never won the cup who really deserve to, he's like top of the list for me. Datsyuk.
Marcel Dion.
Yeah, there's one. Pavel Datsyuk. You talk about magician, making plays look easy. A lot of comparisons with Alex Kovalev in terms of the hands. Everybody thinks about the hands. For me, what stands out about Datsyuk, aside from the unexpected grittiness to his game, because he was, you know, wire thin and not the biggest guy, but man, he could hit you, and he was a very competitive guy in that respect. Amazing at stealing pucks. Everyone talks about the hands, but if you go back and watch those highlights, and I'd say the same thing about Kovalev, the way he combined the hand skills with his feet, watch the outside edges and the things that those two guys did with their feet, because nobody focuses on it. That is the success that made the hand shine through. And if you go watch like Datsyuk's greatest goals, the pullback breakaway goal on Marty Turco that he did another time. Watch his feet on that play. Like
the pullback goal it's amazing.
So deceptive.
Hey, so, we just talked about Jeremy Roenick, one of the greatest players to never win a cup. And then I brought up Marcel Dion. There's been a couple. We could play this game. Let's go back and forth, you and I.
Oh, gosh.
Best players to never win a cup.
Oh, man.
So I said Marcel Dion, Jeremy Roenick, Marcel Dion, you?
Oh, man. It's not registering with me right now.
I got one. You ready?
Yeah.
Aginla.
Okay, McDavid.
Sundin.
He was a great player.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been nice if Koivu got one.
Yeah. Adam Oates.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's a long list. Peter Bondra never won one.
Roberto Luongo.
Yeah. Well, now he's got one as an exec.
Yeah.
No, there's a long list.
It's a fun game. Okay, let's try. Keep going. I'm
going to embarrass myself because it's not coming directly into my head right now, but there's a long list.
So I got 3 or 4 off the top of my head. You ready? Gilbert Perreault?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Never won one. Dale Howardchuk?
Amazing.
Mike Gardner?
Head of the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I'd have to – I can't really think of that many more right now, but those are the ones that just come to mind.
It's pretty damn good team. And again, you could say there's some players who –
Got another one.
What's that?
I got another one.
Okay.
Peter Stastny.
Oh, he was incredible.
Quebec Nordiques.
There's and all the guys you just named are like Hall of Famers, every single one of them.
Yeah.
So there's a group in the same way that you would say, okay, this guy won a Stanley Cup. Well, it doesn't mean that much. Like he was a bit player on a Stanley Cup team. You'd say the same. Like some of the guys who didn't win, it wasn't their fault. Like it's not an individual award. These guys were unbelievable, and they're Hall of Famers, the guys you mentioned.
A big goal by we're going from that, but big goal by Heineman.
Phil Housley never won one.
Phil Housley never won. Big goal by Heineman earlier today.
Like I said, great patience on that play, great shot. Heineman has been playing. He was one of the only guys in Toronto. When they talked about liking their effort, which I didn't like.
Yeah,
I didn't think their effort was good enough.
Not the emotion you would want for a Saturday night hockey night in Canada game in Toronto.
He was definitely one of the most engaged players on the ice, strong on the forecheck. I talked about showing videos to Slafkovsky at what he did on that second goal with power.
Yeah.
I'd be showing the rest of the Habs some of Heineman's forechecks. Like, this is what you got to do. This is how you win games. This is how you apply pressure. This is how you make it uncomfortable. And until the Canadiens start doing that with some consistency, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So they better learn.
Getting back to that Toronto game, I mean, there was when the Canadiens were down in that game, and they were down early and often, but there was an opportunity for guys to kind of like start something. I don't want to be an advocate for violence here because I've been talking about getting rid of fighting in the game for a while, but I had the feeling that when that whole Savard Domi thing, and I get it, Savard's not a fighter, I get it. Jack guy possibly with Reeves, it didn't happen, and it once again it was good for the Canadiens to win this hockey game because there were a lot of people asking a lot of questions after a very emotionless loss in Toronto on Saturday night.
Yeah,
it was a good response.
I don't know if I would say emotionless, but it wasn't at the level that it needed to be.
No.
And the effort, which they thought they had a good effort, it wasn't as sometimes you think you're working hard. There's always another level you can get to when it comes to working hard. Look at you. You're one of the hardest working guys I know. I'm sure you could still push it to another level, Tony.
I think I can get it to another 2 or 3 other levels, but thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And I know it means a lot to me coming from a guy who works as hard as you do because don't shortchange yourself. Everyone knows how hard you work too. Patrick Laine in ending, images of him skating in Brassard a couple of days ago. Pretty positive stuff. Renaud Lavoie saying, based on what he's hearing, in an ideal world, Patrick Laine could be back by the end of the month. Isn't that something? That's incredible, really. If he's back by the end of the month, that's something.
I don't know if it's ideal. And I say that just to say that, of course, you want Patrick Laine to come back as fast as possible. But I hope he takes his time and makes sure he's in the best shape he can possibly be in and not just with his knee. Because say the Canadiens, for whatever reason, which right now we don't have anything to really hang our hats on to make the argument they're going to do this, but say they go on a bit of a run here and erase some of the damage they've already done to themselves. The last thing you want is him coming in, being viewed as like a trade deadline acquisition who's going to help them early on now and like bring them to another level, when in reality he came to Montreal having skated about 3 times. He was going to need all of training camp to get himself up to speed. I saw some encouraging things that when he played in front of the Bell Center fans for 4 periods, he brought his level up quite a bit. It seems he really thrived in that environment. But I hope people have their expectations in check when it comes to what Laine is going to be able to deliver coming off this knee injury and all the stuff that I just mentioned, because excuse me, he's not going to come in and blow the doors off right away. So I think as much time as he needs. Yeah, you know what's interesting about the end of the month, Eric, is that on the 26th, which is a Tuesday night, they host Utah. The next night, they're in Columbus, right? So 2 games and 2 nights travel included. 3 nights after that, or they're in New York. Tampa, Vegas, Chicago. No, they're in New York versus the Rangers on a Saturday night. Oh, we're talking about November. November 30th, correct. Yeah. And the next afternoon, they're in Boston. Yeah. So actually, I think it's an afternoon game in New York versus the Rangers, and then an afternoon game versus Boston. So what I'm getting at is if he comes back at the end of the month, there's 2 games at 2 nights and then 2 games at 2 days. And it doesn't mean that they have to play him in all of those games. But when you're coming back from an injury like that, you kind of like to avoid the back-to-back. So once again, he might play, but he probably wouldn't play in the 2 games. Right. Let's see him get back into practice. Let's see him get back on the road. One guy who's nearing a return is Raphael Harvey-Pinard, I think. I think it won't be long before he sheds the no contact jersey. He was on this road trip. He'll come back with the Canadiens. They'll practice. They'll go off to Minnesota, come back for their game against Columbus. And, he started off way behind on the depth chart. Yeah. And the way things have gone so far this season, he might get a chance to play up here before anything. So good news for him. We'll see about Laine. Like I said, take as much time as you need to take, Patrick, before you come back, because people are going to expect that you're going to be the Patrick Laine they want to see. And he has to prepare himself to do that. And you're right. He's not going to come back and play back-to-back. I'd be shocked if he was back at the end of the month and he's in the lineup for New York and Boston. Maybe he's in for one of them if he gets if it goes 100% as best as it possibly can between now and then. But honestly, Tony, I think it's more likely we'll see him in December. And as long as he's in shape to do it, good for him. But it's a tough road. Like, he hasn't been able to do what could he have possibly been able to do from a cardio perspective without being able to put any weight on his knee for 4 weeks before getting back on the ice. So it's going to be a long road. You're right about that. Eric, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon, my man. All right. Pleasure. All right, there you have it. Eric Engels of Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca. Marinaro, a shout out, of course, to Pole Montreal. PEAU Montreal.com is their website, at Pole Montreal on Instagram. And Dr. Manish Khan and his team, they use the latest cosmetic technologies for laser, injections, fillers, body contouring, facial treatments. They also have, if you have hair loss, they have a great ultrasound technology. It's called TED, completely natural, no needles, no pain. They've got a free consultation on that. You can call them at 514-989-7328. 2 locations, downtown Montreal and on the West Island. Special thanks to all of you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Your friends know about it, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gomo and Master Control, we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. The Sick Podcast, Monday to Friday, weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Ciao for now. I'm Marinaro. Habs win. Thank God. Whew.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVita.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.